Hey everybody, welcome. Another episode of the Forever Mighty post-game show. Sorry, I'm stumbling here as I just can't believe the way this game turned around on the Ducks as they fall to the St. Louis Blues 4-2 at Honda Center. Eddy, not the way the Ducks wanted to start their homestand here after 2 games on the road against tough teams. They keep to come back into town to play the Blues, and it felt like the Blues controlled the play the entire freaking game all the way down to like the last half of the third period.
Yeah, pretty much, and it wasn't the bounce back game we were expecting after those 2 difficult back-to-back losses. I mean, they didn't come out with any fight whatsoever. Of course, we'll get into it later, but Marcus Pettersson was a scratch again in this game with Boschman and Bieksa being paired together, which obviously didn't bode well for how this game was going to go. And we really didn't see a push from the Ducks until about halfway through the third period, which by then, of course, is too late. So, I mean, what are we going to do? I mean, it's 3 losses in a row now. We haven't had a win in what feels like a long time. I mean, we were toting that we were 3-0 since we started the show, and now we're sitting at 3-3. So it's definitely getting...
We're 500.
Yeah. Well, started off strong, and now we've kind of cooled off. So it's getting disappointing.
No, it definitely is. I mean, the bright spots tonight for the Ducks were definitely the RPG line, Getzlaf, Perry, and Raquel. They were causing all the buzz tonight. Then you also get to look at that defense pairing of Fowler and Montour. They had another great game. Lindholm and Manson had a pretty good game, a solid one in there. But the curious one, as always, is Boschman and Bieksa paired together for the majority of this game because, as you said a minute ago, Randy Carlyle decided to scratch Marcus Pettersson. We don't know why, other than grit, leadership, and physicality is what this old-school train of thought.
Yep, that's always why. So,
and curious to see that Carlyle, in pregame comments, had mentioned, I was reading the article by Eric Stevens, the Adam Henrique, Nick Ritchie, and Andre Kasha line not producing. Says Henrique has scored twice in his last 9 games, but Ritchie only has 1 point, an empty net goal, and Kasha has gone scoreless. Not a good look. Obviously, they need secondary scoring, and that's what we were going to get into here in a minute, is the Blues got all the secondary scoring. It was their depth guys that were able to put the puck on the net and bury all the goals for them.
Yeah, and this was a line we'd relied on so much in the weeks leading up to these games. Pretty much right before the trade deadline, this line was just on fire. And we knew at some point they'd cool down, but this is ice cold. Like, Kasha is scoreless. Henrique has a couple goals in his last 9 games. Like you said, Ritchie was just 1 point, and it's an empty net goal. It's just disappointing. That's going to be the trend, I guess, of the show, is just disappointment. Because now we've got the first line firing at all cylinders, and that's what we were waiting for. And we were hoping that now with that line they could couple with the success from Henrique, Ritchie, and Kasha, but they've just disappeared. The Kessler, Silfverberg, Cogliano line couldn't keep up their play from that one game where we thought that was their best game of the season. And now the Ducks offense is just looking anemic, and there's really nothing going on for them at all.
No, and the one great spot on this team that's been consistent all year is John Gibson, as he would get to start in that tonight against Jake Allen, who's had a really awful second half of the season for him. So this was an opportunistic night for the Ducks, for them to jumpstart this offense against a team that traded away one of its better centers at the trade deadline. And, that upset players on that team, like, hey, wait a minute, we're not dumb. We thought we could play and keep this up. Last year they got rid of Shattenkirk, and this year they got rid of Stastny. And so you figured this Blues team that was stumbling down the second half of the season would be, easy prey for the Ducks. It just wasn't. They went into LA and smoked LA last night 7-3 or 7-4. I think it was 7-3. So this Blues team on the second half of back-to-backs comes into Anaheim and applies all the pressure. And that was just the story, like you said. But we do have some bright spots that we'll get to towards the end of the show, so I don't want everyone to think it's doom and gloom. So on that note, Eddy, let's get the show started.
Again by Benning. Darnell Nurse left it in the corner, gets up center. Perry scores! Corey Perry!
Ilya able to shake away from Solani. It's given away to Solani around in front. Score! Teemu Solani with the steal. And the fans want one. Score!
coming out of the intro, we've got a comment I think that sums everything up, or at least a good way to get started with this recap here is the legend Gordon Bombay coming into the chat with, "I'm drowning my sorrows with an entire box of Girl Scout cookies like, well, a girl." And I think that's a good way to get into this first period summary, if I don't say so myself.
Well, I got to ask him, what flavor? Is he doing the s'mores, the new ones, or is he going Thin Mints, the classic?
Yeah, gotta be
What is
Thin
he doing?
Mints.
We got to know what he's doing there. And if he does Thin Mints, is he doing them from the freezer? You getting them a little cold and eating them? There's only a proper way to drown yourself in sorrow with cookies, and if you're going Thin Mints, it's the only way. Just throwing that out there.
I think we have to have like a cookie-themed podcast for the next time. We have a special cookie-themed podcast on the way, courtesy of Gordon Bombay.
There we go. He can tell us all about them. But no, I feel him there. It was a tough game. It was a tough go tonight for the Ducks. The end of the first period, the Ducks just, I don't know what to say about them. I don't know if this team is just too slow, or if they didn't have the jump tonight, because the Blues were just relentless on that puck. The Ducks would get a chance early, though. I mean, Perry would flip it up to Getzlaf. Getzlaf would get a partial break in on Allen, but he ends up getting jammed up too close and fires it in off, I think, the glove or the arm of Allen there. But then it was just the Blues just creating buzz and traffic all around. Gibby had a big save there on Shen on a partial 2-on-1 break. It just wasn't enough from Anaheim in this first period. Eddie, did you see anything like just different maybe in system-wise? I felt the Ducks were just scrambling like the entire game, the second, in their own zone. Like they didn't have time to pick their head up. The second they picked their head up, you had two Blues converging on them. Like this forecheck was crazy.
Sadly, it doesn't look any different than what Nashville was able to do to the Ducks, where they were just applying a lot of pressure, kind of suffocating their offense for most of the game. And it kind of seemed like the Blues had either watched that tape or knew the book on how the Ducks were going to play and just applied the same style in this game. And they couldn't do anything. I mean, other than that Perry to Getzlaf chance early on, there wasn't a lot that the Ducks got going in this first period, and pretty much throughout the entire game. But this first period was pretty bad. I mean, other than that chance, I think Raquel had a couple good chances, but it was really just that line putting any pressure on the Blues, and they did a great job of just suffocating the offense.
No, I mean, that RPG line was pretty much the only thing that everyone's going to hear us talk about here throughout this game, about the one that was generating all the scoring chances, it seemed like. But the Blues would get on the scoreboard first. They would come on with 2 minutes and 30 seconds to go in the first period. They catch the Ducks, what I looked like to me as a line change. Bortuzzo was the trailing man in, gets the shot in on the blocker side on Gibby just over the pad. That's the new sweet spot. It's 1-0 Blues.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned it before we got into the intro and into the discussion we're having right now, and how the depth guys for the Blues had stepped up in this game, and there was a lot of secondary scoring. Well, I think this goes down the depth chart in secondary scoring when you've got Bortuzzo as the guy who's going to wire a wrist shot top corner to make it 1-0 for the Blues. And I mean, he kind of just comes in unmarked, and I get that he was a trailing man in, and you know, somebody missed an assignment on him, and I guess you're really not looking for him to come in and make these kind of chances. But yeah, I mean, you can't leave anybody open in the slot, even if it's Robert Bortuzzo, and he makes him pay.
I mean, he had about 20 feet to work with, skating in from the blue line, uncontested. There was not much you could do there. I just hope that Gibby's able to, read the play and make the save, and he just missed it. I mean, it was close, but they get it up and over the pad. It's 1-0 Blues, end of the first period. I wish we could extend the talk on the first period more, but the Ducks really didn't do anything. They end up being down in shots 10-7. As we start the second period, again, it's that pressure. It's just relentless on the forecheck. The Blues all over Anaheim, don't leave them any room to breathe, and then guess what? They score. It was just relentless pressure on the puck in front of the net. It was a shot from the point, hits Lindholm in the skates, stuck in his skates as he looks down. Barbashev, not Tarasenko, not Shen, in front of the net, picks it up and puts it by Gibby, 2-0 Blues.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the fourth line for the Blues getting a goal here, and I feel like Barbashev is probably a lot more skilled guy than you see on your normal fourth line, like the Ducks' fourth line per se. Barbashev has a lot more skill than Grant, Chimera, or Kelly, but still, I mean, this is their fourth line jumping on you early and getting a goal. And it is a little bit of a lucky play. Like you said, he gets caught in Lindholm's skates. There's not a ton he could do, but it's that relentless pressure. It's that pressure on the puck. It creates chances. They throw a puck to the net, and it's 2-0 Blues. And this is something we saw the entire game, and it was a real reason that the Blues were able to come out with a win.
Well, I mean, And I noticed this break in my notes. It was like 17-minute mark, Blues score.
Yeah.
And the next line of notes was Getzlaf with a great chance in on Allen. Allen reads the play, makes the nice glove save. He kind of even had his glove up there. Getzlaf, trying to laser it over that, probably the crook of the arm. So that's where, the sweet spot is on the glove-hand side, and he couldn't do it. And then there was just Blues all in between the next play, which is where the Ducks would finally score. The RPG line buzzing. Perry gets free from Pietrangelo, kind of disappears behind the defense at that point. Getzlaf is able to pick up the loose puck and zips it all the way across the crease. Allen has to go all 6 feet across, not able to get there in time. And I think even Pietrangelo looked over the referee, was like, what the hell? Because Perry tied him up and forced him down on the ice, and he lost him at that point. But the Ducks get on the board, and it's 2-1 now.
Yeah, this is that classic play we've kind of been looking for a while, where Getzlaf to Perry. Perry's wide open in front of the net, and how many times have we seen this in the past? It's kind of a nice, refreshing take to see it now and to see them kind of clicking a bit. But it's not going to be enough when this is the only line that's clicking for you. I think, it kind of turned the momentum a bit for the Ducks, because they got this goal, and then they got a power play right after. Of course, nothing materialized on the power play, but these are the chances, especially when it's late in the second period, where you're hoping for some momentum to shift your way and to maybe tie the game up before the period's over. But, of course, they don't end up doing that, and it ends up being 3-1 St. Louis.
It's not even that the Ducks couldn't score on the power play. It's that the Blues had scoring chances shorthanded. They just
Multiple.
didn't let
Keyword is plural.
They didn't give up.
Scoring
yeah,
chances.
They didn't give up on it.
Yeah.
Was it Saboka that had chances in front on Gibby, where Gibby was forced to make a skate save almost along the post?
Yeah.
And then they had two. I think they had at one point had a guy on the half wall and a guy down low pressuring the penalty or the power play. I just don't get it. I don't understand. The Blues just, like you said, had the read on this game before they came in and forced the Ducks to make some mistakes. There was lots of turnover in this game by Anaheim because they were hemmed in their zone so much. And the only play coming up before, like you said, the Blues would make it 3-1, was Boschman getting beat by Vladimir Tarasenko. Go figure.
Yeah.
Tarasenko's a beast. Bosch is at the end of his career. Bosch trips him, and then where else would Vladimir Tarasenko go other than into a careening John Gibson as he makes the save? And the Blues get a power play after that.
Yeah. Well, at least Gibby was okay. He made up with Tarasenko at the end there, patting each other on the back and getting up.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Scary. It's scary. We've seen that pretty much once a game. We see somebody fly into John Gibson. This
not Gibby's fault. It happens.
Yeah, this one's on Boschman, really. He trips up Tarasenko, and like you said, he gets burned, but you're going to expect Boschman to get burned by Tarasenko 10 out of 10 times. So, we're happy that he's okay on that play, but like you said, the Blues end up getting a power play. And who else but the guy who was creating chances earlier in the period and actually looked very good for the second half of that second period in Saboka. Puck kind of lands to him, I believe, and he spins in front and just slides it in under John Gibson, and it kind of hits Gibson's pad too and goes in the net. But once again, Boschman and Bieksa victimized on the ice for the goal.
What did you think happened on that play for Gibby? Did he slip on his push across? Because he did that weird thing that he's pretty much not done a lot this season, which is falling forward as he's making a save. I don't know if he overreacted on the play, because when he fell forward and the puck went under him, but it went in because he closed his legs as it hit him, and he kind of swept it into his net, it looked like, or it banked off his pad into the net. I didn't get a great angle on the replay. Did he slide or slip, or did you see what happened?
Yeah, I'm looking at the GIF we put out now, and I think he just gets fooled a little bit. It's a good play by Saboka because he takes it on his backhand and then makes a quick spin, and I don't think Gibby was really ready for it. And he just kind of pushes late. Like, he makes one push that was short, and then he has to make another one where then he falls forward, like you said. So I think it's just a little bit of a mistake on Gibby's part. And he gets a piece of it. Saboka's shot was actually going to miss the net, and it hits Gibby's left pad and goes into the net, and the Blues are up 3-1. But yeah, I think it's a little bit to blame on Gibby, and then you got to partially credit Saboka for the good play and a quick turnaround.
No, I agree. And, the Blues, again, I don't know how many times I got to say it, just relentless forecheck. I would have to control find, like, every time I've said that on my notes, like, relentless buzzing, relentless. It's just no offense for Anaheim other than the breakthrough